thank you so much for coming out today as really the capstone of all the wonderful projects that have come forward here in the last number of years. Not only... Let's cheer for that! If anybody knows the railroad, that is just about perfect. This is really more than just a celebration of this bridge. It's a celebration of more than 4 miles worth of wonderful trails. It's a celebration of people. And as I was walking up, I got to see people coming across the bridge this morning. And I'm really reminded of one of the conversations that was had when I first got here was how long, and Greg Peckham may cover that, but how long it took to get from downtown. You had to go all the way down and then all the way out and then all the way back down, kind of the cattle chute. And now we've made it something that is really an asset for the community and really celebrating Lake Erie, one of our greatest assets. This link connects to the Cleveland Foundation Centennial Trail, and one of the first phases was built quite a number of years under the leadership of Dick Kerber, and we couldn't be more appreciative of the work they've done. And that connects to over 100 miles worth of trails that is coming to fruition here with the project's completions at Canal Basin Park. This missing link is extremely important in connecting more than 66,000 residents to our wonderful asset here. Last month we opened the Red Line Greenway. We've talked about Canal Basin Park. We've talked about the upgrades at Rivergate Park, and these new trails and connections we're so excited to share with the community today. As the Emerald Necklace continues to grow, we put a high priority on the preservation of land, education, recreation, and the continued growing resources. But none of this could be done without collaboration and partnerships. And by the showing today, I hope everybody that participated in this can take a huge sigh of relief. It's done. Accessible transport. As they say, transformation takes a long time. A long time. Without the bold vision and commitment, this would not have happened. I'm very happy to introduce our first speaker, Dan T. Moore, President of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Well, Brian, thank you, and thanks for all of you joining us today. It's an absolutely fabulous day, and what could be more perfect? Absolutely ideal. On behalf of Judge Anthony Russo and the other park commissioners, Debbie Berry right here, and Bruce Renker, who may be here somewhere, he's probably billing labor hours. And I'd like to welcome all of you to this long-awaited celebration, and I would underline what Brian just said about a long time coming. This was the granddaddy of long times. I wanted to share my thoughts while wearing 3 different hats. The hat of a Metro Park commissioner, a former owner of Whiskey Island with some historical perspective. Excuse me about this. And finally, from Wendy's dad's perspective. We're standing here just north of the 1874 shoreline. We owe the higher elevations and the beautiful views of the city for a bunch of debris that is beneath us. The old municipal stadium, the county library, a whole bunch of oak demolished barges that are underneath here. And it was the home to many. Seagulls, wild dogs, Russian olive trees, thank you, and an eagle or two, deer, lots of birds, and a beaver who single-handedly tried to remove all the cottonwood trees along the edge here. And I think he was trying to dam up the Cuyahoga River. And this project has been a little bit like damming up the Cuyahoga River. But the bridge, as Brian said, is an enormous connector. It connects the residents on the west side of the flats. This is literally their backyard. And the Whiskey Island Trail to Edgewater Park, it's a magic trail. You can see the huge taconite piles. It's absolutely fantastic. And of course, it connects an active beach to a quiet park, which I think is very nice. And most of all, as Brian said, It connects the lakefront to the fantastic Cleveland Foundation Centennial Lake Link Trail, which in turn connects to 100 miles of towpath, and perhaps later on all the way to Cincinnati as the Trans-Ohio Trail. And it also connects to the Red Line Greenway, which heads west, all the way to West 65th Street. And all these trails continue to connect to a myriad of other trails. And we're building trails, more trails, that will connect even to those trails. So it's a giant spider web of trails with the objective of getting more and more people directly connected to the Metro Park. And there's another wonderful connection. It links the downtown and the flats to the historic Coast Guard station with active fishermen and the wonderful sailing program brought here by the Treblecock family. There are too many people to thank individually on this project. There are literally hundreds or thousands of them, but I'd like to mention a few. First, major thanks goes to Brian Zimmerman, and the enormous, talented Metro Parks team he's assembled. Again, too many people to mention, but to single out Sean McDermott, the Metro Park Chief of Planning and Design. He was the point person on the project and did an extraordinary job crafting a compromise between those that would accept an industrial-type bridge as long as we could build it quickly and economically. And I'm ashamed to say right now that I was one of that group. And those that would only settle for a piece of art designed as a bridge that would be hard to build, take a long time to make, and would be expensive. Sean and his team remarkably accomplished all these goals. It was a quick build, it's efficient, it's beautiful, and it's reasonably priced. Don't you think he has done a fabulous job? Ow! Next, I'd like to acknowledge two critical partners in this project. Jerry Wyman, who with the help of Brent Ballard, managed a 2.5-year negotiation process with the Conrail Railroad to acquire the property instead of leasing it. We had to own it in order for them to pay for the cost of cleaning it up. And Nancy Keene, our CFO and board member of the Wendy Park Foundation, who navigated the legal and operational challenges to design a deal that appeased to all parties and transferred the property to the county. And thanks goes to Ron Richard for the wonderful Lake Link Trail. It was a catalyst for the project. And next to the directors of the Wendy Park Foundation, Heather Moore, Hallie Moore, Wendy's sisters, and Pudge Henkel, Bob Tucker, J.D. Sullivan, and Nancy Keene. They managed the relationships between the Wendy Park Foundation in its gift to the Metro Park. And the Norfolk and Southern Railroad, whose cooperation was critical to making this bridge a reality. The Norfolk and Southern is one of the safest major railroads in the United States, and the bridge was constructed over a live rail line without compromising rail line operations and with a perfect safety record. And to the U.S. Department of Transportation, whose Tiger grant made this funding possible, and to all the others, the Trust for Public Land, the George Gunn Foundation, and all of them that helped us through this process. And there are thanks that go to people much further back. People that believed in the lakefront and then the public's access to it. To Ed Hauser, who kept a close eye on the public meetings. Anything involving the Port Authority. He was our self-appointed junkyard dog. And to the Park Works under the leadership of Ann Zoller, who were early contributors to help rationalize the bridge. And to Cleveland Councilman Matt Zone and his council colleagues who ran interference for us at the city. The Whiskey Island Partners entity that purchased the land from the railroad did not work financially. Imagine the worst, and you're close to knowing what happened. The boaters didn't come. It was clear that the original vision was not right. this city could not support another 500 slip marina. It was not the right vision. So the city came up with their own vision. They would eminent domain this property. They would move the Port Authority to Whiskey Island, and the Port Authority would use the county's bonding authority to issue approximately $1 billion in bonds to pay for the move. And then the port on the east side could then be developed as for residential and mixed use. It was a terrible idea. And what happened, as we all have seen in the nearly 20 years that have passed, is we had plenty of capacity to sop up the people that wanted to live in downtown Cleveland. We didn't have to tear up a park. There were two county commissioners at the time that did not want this to happen, and they need to be acknowledged: Tim McCormick and Jimmy DeMora. Yeah, a clap is appropriate. Tim was the green advocate well before it was fashionable. He did not want to lose the possibility for a park. And Jimmy did not want to lower the county's credit rating by adding the liability of $1 billion to move the port. Unfortunately, McCormick lost the commissioner's seat in 2004 to an advocate of moving the port to Whiskey Island. This was a disaster. It eliminated our option of transferring Whiskey Island to the county. But we realized that during this lame duck period, during McCormick's lame duck period, if we worked fast enough, we could work out a purchase and sale agreement whereby the county would purchase the property and keep from it being eminent domain by the port. The deal was hammered out in record time. They would preserve the property as a park. However, they did not have a parks department, so they had the only option they had of having us run the park, and we committed to it. They could cancel any time they wanted, but we had to do it for 10 years. And I think the logic was, we had a lawnmower and a rake. What could possibly go wrong? Well, in the final last minutes of Tim's final commissioner meeting, after all the press, nearly all the press had left, and after Tim had been congratulated for his long years of service and thanked by Mayor Campbell for the wonderful job he's done, the county bought Whiskey Island, putting it back in safe hands. The sad part of the story is that Tim's commitment to the park and to the people of Cleveland cost him his job. The county was a good steward. They honored their commitments. They helped us when they were needed. 10 years after the county bought the Whiskey Island property, they found a way to get this land into the hands of the best park organization in our country, the Cleveland Metro Parks. The Metro Parks have worked tirelessly to build this bridge and to link this incredible green corner to their trail system. This bridge connects people to the lake. It preserves the green space on the Whiskey Island Peninsula, and it's a beautiful gem in the Emerald Necklace. Connecting Whiskey Island to the city with the Wendy Park Bridge will help the public better understand the need for public access to the lakefront. It will strengthen the view that if the public owns it, it should have access to it. And it will lead to more enthusiasm for further expansion of the lakefront access. What's next? Who knows what's next? It all depends on what everyone wants to do. But there's Dike 14, there's the old Nike site in Bracknell, and what about the trail around the lakefront airport? Who knows? But we'll get there. As a father, and speaking for the rest of the Moore family, I can tell you Wendy Park and the Wendy Park Bridge are the perfect memorials and legacies to Wendy. And in my view, it is impossible that we could do any better If she's looking down on us today, I would guess she would be telling her dog Ripley how rad the bridge is and how Heather and Hallie would look much better if they were wearing the army boots she gave them and the Nepali hat that she left behind. I see a large number of supporters here today, and I've been shaking hands with a lot of you that I haven't mentioned, but you've all been a part of making this a reality, and for that I thank you.
Extremely blessed, aren't we? Extremely blessed to have this moment today. Our next speakers I'd like to introduce are the family members, Heather and Hallie Moore, if they could please come forward.
I'm Hallie Moore. Oh, I'm Heather Moore. We are, for emphasis, we are Dan and Marge's daughters and Wendy's sisters. Closer to the mic. Oh, closer to the mic. Okay. When we were still in high school in the late 1980s, our father started dreaming of rescuing this piece of land for public use. He'd see it from his sailboat, and sometimes he and Mom would anchor by the Coast Guard station for the night and would marvel at the fact that you basically needed a boat or to trespass to get to that spot. Then he'd drive Wendy and Heather and me down here. I must confess that might have involved squeezing through a gap in the fence. And we would wade through brambles and climb the piles of rubble that were here, huge pieces of jagged concrete and rebar from when this place held mostly discarded items. We look east to the skyline and look west to the huge piles of taconite pellets and the Hewlett unloaders. Bridges were all around us. Wendy was an artist, and she would bring her camera. Artful compositions presented themselves here no matter where we turned. We were in the heart of our fine city, at the convergence of lake and sky, of steel and commerce and infrastructure. Wendy was captivated, and so were we. She took a photo of a mystery plant, a wildflower, blooming improbably within a tangle of metal, the skyline in the background. You all have heard what came next, the twists and turns that led to the deal with Conrail, the making of the marina and park, the moments when it seemed like it all might be reclaimed for industrial use, and then several heroic efforts by several individuals and entities to save it. So here we are, after decades of work and collaboration with many public, private, and nonprofit entities. We now have an extraordinary trail system with better connectivity than we have ever had, and this fantastic bridge that allows all of those trails to connect to the lake from the west bank of the flats. We expect significant positive economic impact for our communities from these projects, along with improved health and well-being of those who choose to get out and enjoy them. There are so many people to thank for their efforts. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for never giving up on this vision for an accessible Cleveland waterfront, no matter what curveballs came your way, and for believing that this land should be for everyone to share together. Heather and I would like to thank the other members of the board of the Wendy Park Foundation, Pudge Henkel, Bob Tucker, J.D. Sullivan, and Nancy Keene, all of whom have shared in our passion for this bridge and dedicated so much of their time and thoughtful expertise to this project. We are so grateful for the truly Herculean efforts of Brian Zimmerman and the Metro Park staff, for whipping this place into shape, for giving it a home within the Lakefront Preserve portfolio of properties, and for securing Tiger Grant funding as if pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It seemed impossible, but it wasn't, not for Brian and his team. We also want to thank all those involved in the design and build of this bridge. We thank Sean McDermott and Andy Simons, and
Where's Andy?
I don't know where he is. All right.
Oh, there he is. In the red shirt.
And every iron worker who hammered a bolt into place.
during the train schedule.
Yes. The whole notion of swinging a bridge over an active rail corridor might have scared some people, but apparently it didn't scare Sean or Andy. We're truly astonished by the current pace sustained by the Metro Parks as they improve and add on to the park system. It seems like every week there's one or two ribbon cuttings with new projects. And these are not minor projects. We would also like to thank Land Studio, which under the expert leadership of Greg Peckham and before him, Ann Zoller, brought key stakeholders together again and again for many years to find a path forward through the complexity of competing interests, to build consensus and find solutions. Their work on this project and on many others in this region has been invaluable to our city. We should all continue to support their work. We would also like to thank the Trust for Public Land, which also helped secure the Tiger Grant funding. We thank Cuyahoga County, which owned the park prior to the Metro Parks transfer. We also thank Ontario Stone and the Norfolk Southern Railroad for allowing us to place bridge abutments on their property and to coordinate the installation with them. We thank the Cleveland Foundation for their commitment to our city in general and to the Centennial Trail in particular. We would also like to thank Stephen Menka and Stephen Yusko, the artists. Where are they?
Where are they?
The artists who are responsible for the illuminated stainless steel gateway installations at the north and south sides of the bridge. At the north end, you'll see the cutouts are an abstracted floral shape, cloverish, in a nod to both the Irish settler past of Whiskey Island and to Wendy's birthday, which is St. Patrick's Day. The South End Gateway, which will be installed shortly after the ribbon cutting, will have cutouts that are a flock of birds, a nod to Wendy Park being an extraordinary spot to see a wide range of migrating birds resting on its shores after traversing Lake Erie. Menka and Yusko are also responsible for the excellent swings at Edgewater Park. We are calling this bridge Wendy's Way. A way is a path, but it's also a way of being, a habit of mind. Wendy's way of being was to observe, to create, to enjoy. Landscapes enthralled her. It didn't matter if it was a natural landscape of a great lake or a river, or if it was a soaring skyscraper or a rusty bridge. She found art within it all. Another way of Wendy's was to laugh often, to laugh loudly. We hope you all feel a great rush when you're on the bridge and a huge double-decker freight train blasts past. We hope you do as Wendy would do, to observe, to enjoy, to laugh. Thank you.
I also wanted to note, we're talking about how beautiful this is going to add to our landscape and all of the work that has been done. But all the while that this has been happening, Dad's been doing incredible work with all of his other companies. And we were going through a storage facility the other day, and I found this great shirt, and I wanted to share it with you because it's our dad, his vision, his initiative is breathtaking, and you're always kind of racing behind him and finding out what we're going to do next. And, but his life, what he kind of goes with or runs with, this is more plastics. Remember the more plastics? But his mantra for gradual and continuous improvement. And with Kaizen, when thinking about how life is and how you can constantly improve, he's done this for the city of Cleveland. And if we could raise a glass or toast or cheers to his initiative, thank you.
Thank you so much. Very heartfelt words for all that are here today. Again, without the rich history that will continue to enlighten us and continue to move us forward. None of this would have happened without the support of the community, especially from Washington, D.C. and downstate. Cleveland Metro Parks, in partnership with the Trust for Public Land and Land Studio, applied for and secured a 7.95 Tiger Grant, the first ever for our park district, back in 2016. This is to help support the overall cost build-out for this program. I'd like to now introduce Sean Terry. He's speaking on behalf of Pam Carson and Chanel Wiggum-Smith, who preceded him. So let's give Sean Terry, the Acting State Director for the Trust for Public Land, a big round of applause.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Metro Parks, for having us. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Terry, Acting State Director and Parks for People Program Lead for our work here in Ohio. For those unfamiliar with our work, at its core, the mission for the Trust for Public Land is to create parks and to create equitable access to nature, to give everyone a path to a healthy quality of life. When the partners here today approached us to get involved with this project, we recognize an unparalleled opportunity to serve our Land for People mission here in Cleveland. We at TPL are so happy to be here, and as I learned today, we're celebrating a day that has been long in the making, some nearly 10 years to get to this point. So you all owe yourselves a round of applause. Before getting too long-winded, I want to take a brief second to acknowledge a number of organizations who are deserving of credit today. If I forget you, please forgive me. I'm still learning my chops here in Cleveland. But today we recognize Cargill, Inc. for making their largest philanthropic gift to the city of Cleveland to date to support the construction of the bridge. To the Gunn Foundation, whose funding represented the lead gift and a vital kick needed to really jumpstart the project. And as we've heard earlier, Tiger Grants are not easy to pursue. Those initial startup funds are critical. So thank you to the Gunn Foundation for that. And to Cleveland Foundation, whose Centennial Legacy Lake Link funding truly helped make this a connected urban trail experience. To our partners at Land Studio and Cleveland Metro Parks, we're so proud to have championed this project with you. For the Trust for Public Land staff and advisory board members whose work on this project precede me, we recognize this project as a special one to us because it represents a land protection effort that our former colleague, Dave Vassarelli, whose legacy we honor, worked tirelessly on. From a land acquisition standpoint, it doesn't get any tougher than projects like this when you consider the community impacts, the business implications, working with state departments, DOT, rail crossings, so on and so forth. Is not easy work. Dave made it look easy, but it truly is a tough hill to climb at times, and he certainly set the bar for us to continue to aspire to do great work and impact with the Trust for Public Land. This is truly an epic trail, one that will be an outdoor recreation destination for both neighbors, visitors to Cleveland, from far and wide, but especially for the residents in this community. When I interviewed for my role at the Trust for Public Land, one of the things that moved me most was the impassioned sentiment that Tina and Chanel at the time spoke to our history with the Lakeview community and how critical our Parks for People work is in an often overlooked side of town. And I recall them saying, if we're not connected with Lakeview, then we're not connected with Cleveland. And if we're not helping those residents connect to the lakefront in Wendy Park, a mere mile away, which really felt like worlds apart due to the access void, then our work has failed. So I thought to myself, wow, a way to set the bar. But I totally understood the gravity and the importance of which they spoke. Unbeknownst to them at the time, that conversation really led me down a path to reminisce some of my own childhood park experiences in Chicago and recalling those eventful days when my family would load up the shopping cart and walk from the uptown neighborhood to Montrose Beach in Chicago, passing folks of varying backgrounds along the way, some carrying basketballs, some carrying softballs, some carrying fishing rods. And those really simple and affordable family fun days are probably some of the most fondest childhood memories that I can recall. And with those memory in mind, I'm really excited to be able to turn our attention back to the residents of Lakeview Terrace at the bottom of West 125th Street. For nearly 100 years, we've heard about the access disconnect for that community, but we can now lay to rest that narrative. And the residents of those apartments are now going to be able to access nature. And instead of speaking to that disconnect, we can now speak to the path of least resistance being just a few steps away from their doors. This work is truly about impacting lives and providing connections to universal access and healing through nature, something we all desperately need, particularly as our society starts to get back to normalcy. How awesome is it to be out here in this space with y'all? We're not filtered by masks. We can shake hands. We can smile and look each other in the eye and know who we're talking to, right? For us at the Trust for Public Land, we look forward to continuing to walk the walk and building that relationship and working with the residents, particularly of the Lakeview Terrace community. To close, I'd like to say thank you once again to all the contributing partners who helped bring this day to fruition. Thank you for your time, everyone. And with that, now the fun truly begins.
Our next speaker is from Land Studio, Greg Peckham. I'm reminded of some of the conversations that were had early on during this process, and if not for the Land Studio board and their perseverance, most of this would not have happened today. So let's give Greg Peckham, the executive director from Land Studio, a huge round of support as he enters the stage.
Hey everybody, it's good to be back. You guys are on a roll here at the Metro Parks. It's like one a day of these ribbon cuttings. I want to start with backing up what Sean said. This is more than a bridge. This is a social justice project. It is unconscionable that thousands of families and residents and kids have been living across, having the best view of our lake and our waterfront and not being able to get there. So what you guys did is more than build a bridge. It's really a social justice project that is very long overdue. I want to say thank you to the Moores. I am completely humbled by your family. As the father of two young girls, the sun rises and sets over those crazy ladies. And for me, it's inconceivable to imagine a day without them. The mountains that your family has climbed to go from pain to purpose is really beyond inspiring. And we're here today because you have brought that purpose to life. It got me thinking about the many people along this journey to this moment, whether they know it or not, that have carried that purpose forward. I think about people that may not be here today, but if not for them, we would not be here today. I think about people like John Jensen, the former program officer at the George Gunn Foundation, who said, I think now is the right time to invest in the future of the Flats, and he did that in a big way. I think about Karen Paganini and Doug Price from the K&D Group that believed in this project from day one. They helped get our first federal grant for the bridge by saying that they would only continue developing in the Flats when they could make good on the promise to their residents that they were buying into a waterfront neighborhood. I think about people like Laura DeFranco and Justin Glanville, two of our former staff members that have gone on to greener pastures. They gave great ears to the vision of connecting all Clevelanders to our lakefront and our riverfront. And Joel Wimbiscus, I hope he's here from our team today at Land Studio, has spent a decade continuing that vision. And as today we check the box on Wendy Park Bridge, Joel is laying the groundwork for the future 23-acre Irishtown Bend Riverfront Park. It really is these folks. They rarely get the microphone, but they deserve it the most because they get the job done. And of course, projects like this don't get done without the heavy lifting of our elected leadership. The state of Ohio, as Brian mentioned, made an important early investment in this project. Under the leadership of Keith Faber, who was then the Senate president, the state awarded $1 million to the Wendy Park Bridge. Our local elected advocates, Tom Patton, Kenny Yuko, Mike Skindell, and Nikki Antonio, they helped to make that happen. I'm glad to see Steve Menka here today, not only because of the artwork that he brought to the bridge, but it takes an artist's vision to help people see the future. Most people don't know this, but Steve drew the original drawing of this bridge and what it could be and how it could connect. So it's wonderful to see you have a hand in that at the end, Steve. Lastly, there are people that I can say for certain, but for them, we would not be here today. Councilman Joe Simperman, Councilman Zone, who's here, Chief of Staff Ken Silliman, and my longtime friend, partner, and mentor, Ann Zoller. There are days like today that we celebrate and we cut ribbons. I like to think that we are not cutting ribbons for a bridge or a trail, but celebrating an end zone for the Joes, the Kens, the Matts, and the Anns that ran the marathon to get us here. To the Moore family, I started by talking about going from pain to purpose, and there is no bridge long enough for that. I'm hopeful today by connecting future generations of Clevelanders to the life-giving power and inspiration of the lake and the river represents a bridge from Wendy's loss to Wendy's legacy. You guys are amazing, and we are grateful for what you have done for this place and for this city. Thank you.
Greg, Ann, and the Land Studio Board, we can't thank you enough for all your dedicated work. When we worked to transition the lakefront over with the state of Ohio, they led the charge on all of the community meetings. And we are truly blessed to have a representative, the state director for the ODNR, Mary Mertz, is here with us today to give us a few words of wisdom, and they certainly were one of the key components in the layers of funding that we needed to complete this project. Let's give Mary a big Cleveland welcome.
I'm really delighted to be invited to join you today in this incredible celebration. What a great day. There have been lots of individual thank yous to all the individuals that made this happen. But, on top of that, a big thank you to all of the people of Cleveland who demand, and rightly so, wonderful green spaces and beautiful blue spaces and the ability to access them. And Brian Zimmerman and team deliver. The Cleveland Metro Parks are a star in Ohio, and I'm just amazed every day when I see what they deliver. But the public input on these things is so important. One thing I've learned as director of ODNR, usually people aren't afraid to share their opinions on what's going on in their neighborhood. I get a lot of calls and a lot of emails. Yesterday, I got sort of an unusual one from someone in my hometown. They actually wrote me a long email asking permission to lodge a complaint with me. So I'm thinking that over. I haven't responded yet, but I'm sure the answer will be yes. But our job at ODNR and the job of Cleveland Metro Parks is to listen to all of you and deliver what you need and what you want and make it possible. We're about, not just conservation. The Department of Natural Resources is about conservation of Ohio's beautiful natural resources. But as important as that is connecting people to it. We want them to experience it, to love it, to treasure it, and be part of that conservation team going forward. And help us preserve it for a long time. And what a great example this is today. We're pleased to support Metro Parks. Sometimes it's through a Clean Ohio Trail Fund grant, and I think a few of the connectors around here have had some support in that area. Or if we're just facilitating the delivery of funds through the capital bill. Good timing. Yeah. Woo! So we're happy to support the Metro Parks every time they need something. Well, not every time, almost every time. When they come forward with a great idea, we want to be there. And Brian, you may not know, I had a couple staff people talking with your staff earlier this week about yet another project. But I commend all of you. I'm excited. I'm just glad to be here to be part of the celebration. I look forward to the next steps and as we continue to make this area great for Cleveland. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Director, for the kind words. And she's living up to her promise. Just before I got here, I had an envelope on my desk, and it was from the ODNR signed by Mary Mertz. And it is actually $21,000 to work on the shore stabilization for right in front of the beach volleyball area. So they pack a huge punch here in Cleveland. So thank you to Governor DeWine, Tom Patton, Nikki Antonios, Representative Skindell. All of our elected leadership have been nothing but fantastic to support Cleveland Metro Parks. Also, a huge shout out. I have not seen her, but I assume Grace Gallucci is here somewhere. I'm hopeful she's here because their agency is truly fantastic. If you haven't heard of the Cuyahoga Greenways plan and the lead they take on really connecting Cleveland, Grace and her entire board and their agency of NOACA are truly appreciated by Cleveland Metro Parks and all of its supporting partners. So let's give Grace a big round of applause. There's Grace. She's right there. Woohoo! She's here. The next speaker I want to introduce is County Executive Armand Budish. And Armand has been leading the charge on helping with the Cuyahoga County Greenways Plan, improving recreation, mobility options throughout Cuyahoga County. He's really thinking regional, not just hyper-local. It is extremely a true pleasure to introduce our County Executive, Executive Armand Budish.
Hello, everybody. Everybody okay? Having fun? Okay. So this is exciting. It's another exciting day. It seems like every time I look at my calendar these days, there's another ribbon cutting that's happening with the Metro Parks because it's been just one after another. It's really tremendous. They've been churning out great projects all across the county. There's the Red Line Greenway, Stage 4 of the towpath, and now here at Wendy Park Bridge. I have to say that the Metro Parks helped save me and my wife during the pandemic. My wife grabbed me every weekend and said, time to go, time to take a walk. There's another Metro Park we haven't been to yet. And as Brian knows, we've been to all of them now, I believe, probably 2 or 3 times. And not just the Metro Parks. We have so much exciting things going on with the lakefront access and the trails that are happening. I called Matt Zone the other day. My wife grabbed me and took me to Gordon Park area by the lake. And what you've done there, instigated along there, people need to see that. People need to see all that's going on. You know, I talk to people all over the country in my capacity as county executive. People are not aware of the gem we have with the Metro Parks. This is something that a lot of areas around the country would love to have. Something like a Wendy Park. This is unbelievable. This is really wonderful. And to have it connected for literally miles and miles and miles where you can take a bike or walk, it's truly unique for this country, and we have it right here, and we have a Lake Erie that's right here, and we have access that's growing to Lake Erie. We need to keep this up. Metro Parks are all over it. We appreciate the partnership we have with the Metro Parks. I should, by the way, thank Darwin Murtis and Pat Lynch, who did great work on the bridge project for the county. Thank you all. And I especially want to thank Dan Moore and his family for this. I've had the pleasure of meeting and getting with Dan Moore since I started in this job. He's always telling me what I should be doing that I'm not, and I truly appreciate that. So thank you all very much for coming out. Thank you to the Moore family.
Thank you, Armand, and truly thank you to former executive Ed Fitzgerald. He helped facilitate this transfer and other transfers along the Cuyahoga River. And I have to say again to the county, what a true partner. For those of you who don't know, these projects take lots of different ways, means, and turns through the local project administration. You need administrators. And they stepped up and saved Cleveland Metro Parks over $1 million on this project by administering the contract for us. So they didn't have to do that, but they stepped up as a public partner. So I want to give, again, the county and all their folks a huge round of applause for that help. Before we get to our last speaker, I do want to have Judge Anthony J. Russo stand up. I know he was acknowledged by Commissioner Dan Moore, but he's one of the reasons I'm here in Cleveland. He also said success will look like getting the lakefront, getting the bridge done, getting the connector trail done, and so I appreciate his passion and purpose and really what he stood for to bring Cleveland Metro Parks further into the lakefront. So, Judge, thank you so much. The last speaker, Sean McDermott. I took a huge pause there because Hamid's laughing, but he knows how hard this man worked to get this project done. He's the last speaker because he's bringing it home. Sean McDermott, our Chief Planning Design Officer, he's the backbone of this project. Let's give him the biggest round of applause we possibly can.
Thanks, Brian. Completely undeserved, but thank you. It is just an immense pleasure to be in front of you this morning, knowing that the idea that all of you had, the idea that the Moores had, the idea that Ed Hauser had, Matt Zone, Kerry McCormick, Paul Alcinas, Cuyahoga County, Land Studio, TPL, that we have now executed on that idea is truly meaningful to, I know, everybody here. But executing is not easy. It takes great partners. It takes a big team to get this done. Before we talk about the bridge, I want to talk about what could be the most difficult 1.2 miles of trail in Cleveland, and that's the Whiskey Island Connector Trail, coming from Edgewater over to Wendy Park. And when I would come home from college in late 90s and early 2000s and come down to Whiskey Island to have fun, we'd have Krusty Summer Sauce. I don't know if anyone ever remembers coming to Krusty Summer Sauce. A lot of fun, but I would not ride my bike here because of the cattle chute down Ed Hauser Way, Whiskey Island Drive. Figuring out how to snake the trail from Edgewater to here was an absolute feat. Couldn't have been done without a tremendous amount of cooperation. Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District has been a great, great partner. We had to work with them on so many details to snake the trail behind the Westerly Wastewater Treatment Plant, and without the work and cooperation of the Sewer District and Doug LaPata, we wouldn't be here today. Norfolk Southern Railroad and the trackage and rights that they have behind the sewer district at the bulk terminal here. Wow, what a process we went through with Norfolk Southern. We know how to do it better, so get ready. We're going to do it again, right? Let's keep going. Port of Cleveland. We work with Nick LaPointe and Linda and Will Friedman's team. The Port of Cleveland did not have to give us an easement to connect from Edgewater to Wendy Park, but they did. They worked with us. We went through Homeland Security, Coast Guard, all of those details that we need to work through in an active port. Port of Cleveland was and is a fantastic partner. Cleveland Water Department. I know, why are we talking about the Cleveland Water Department when we're talking about a trail? What we found a nearly 90-year-old water main under the trail, and so we worked with Cleveland Water Department to replace that main as part of the project. And we actually had to go back to original agreements with the railroad from, I think, about 1916 or so to work through those. And just a great, great partner. Again, City of Cleveland, Planning Commission, MoCap, Jamie DeRosa helping us through some of the most complicated and cloudy real estate, the transactions that made this occur, just so impressive. Cuyahoga County, again, just a fantastic partner. The county actually gave us the bridge that's on Whiskey Island Drive, so they had the foresight to build a trail next to the bridge several years ago so we could just connect to it. E.L. Robinson and OHM, just fantastic work from E.L. Robinson, all the engineering that they did. And then Mark Haynes Construction. Often the contractors get overlooked, but Mark Haynes Construction did an incredible job. 20,000 hours of labor, not a single accident, working next to an active rail line behind a sewer district. Just an amazing, amazing job. And then we were able to perform so well in the projects, we were able to pave almost everything at Wendy Park. And then just this morning, after 22 days of construction, we got that little pesky 650-foot length of trail done over on River Road to connect over to the Lake Link Trail. So Mark Kane's construction. Dan Wilson, Craig Smith, Aaron Kramer, just incredible work. And then when we get to Wendy Park Bridge, it's been mentioned already, but Ontario Stone. Ontario Stone did not have to give us an easement. They did not have to cooperate. They did. They're a great partner, and we wouldn't be here if they had not been a great partner. So Ontario Stone, thank you very much. Norfolk Southern, again, the challenge over working over the busiest railroad between New York and Chicago is just that. It's an immense challenge. Their dedication to safety and working with us is just paramount. KS Associates, Hamid, Rob, Lynn, amazing job of engineering, walking us through the evolution of design. You heard Brian and Commissioner Moore talk about how the design changed. They were with us every step of the way. FHWA, ODOT District 12, John Pecuri and his team with Steve Teneski, Natalie Conley, Dave Stiftovich, just amazing help. And then Steve Yusko and Steve Manka. Again, the detail that these gentlemen put into these elements to make what is a large piece of infrastructure human, that's what makes these places. That's what is those soft touches that really shine through and will for decades. So thank you, Steve and Steve. You guys do incredible work. Great Lakes Construction and their commitment to safety, their commitment to quality, their commitment to get the project done when so many obstacles were put in front of us and them. Al Leonard, Jim Fox, Adam Dewar, and Matt Wagner. Where's Matt? You got to raise your hand, Matt, wherever you are. Just incredible. Matt's the superintendent on this project. Oh, my Lord. Incredible amount of work. Okay, lastly, and then we'll cut this ribbon, right? The Metro Parks team just literally work with the most talented people you could ever imagine. The support of our commissioners, Andy Simons, Bob Burchin, John Cardwell, Dick Kerber and Jim Kostelek, now retired, passing on all their hard work on these projects. Rose Feeney and Kyle Baker on the immensely complicated real estate. Bill Chorba, we got 7 layers of funding on just this project, so the finance team, just amazing. Our development department, our park ops team, who now have the responsibility of maintenance, our visual communications team. If you get a chance to look at the interpretive elements that are sprinkled around here and also showing and celebrating the revival of the river, that's all done in-house. They did an amazing job. Our trades crew, Jim Rodstrom and trades helped tremendously with this project, but 2 individuals specifically. Sarah Burnsmeyer, if Sarah is out there. Sarah is the genius behind all of this, who makes everything work and keep us organized. She's the one who worked with TPL and Land Studio on the application for the funding, and just amazing work. And then lastly, I have to thank Brian. There were lots of times when we had major challenges, and I remember coming into the office one day after we had some challenges with the railroad, and he's like, I found the head of government operations, and I called him at 8:30 at night, and we talked, and we're getting our agreement tomorrow. Like, Honey Badger. You guys have heard of Honey Badger. Just amazing. Okay, to wrap up, this project is meaningful. To know what it means for TPL, to know what it means for Land Studio, to know what it means for Clevelanders, and to know what it means to the Moore family. We're just humbled to be a part of it, and can't wait to open it to show you all. So, thank you.